Welcome to EMERJ TV with Reggie Smith. This podcast is about all things production for the people in front of the camera or behind the camera. Let's join Reggie right now for the discussion.
So we'll continue our conversation with Jackie. We were talking about directing and that kind of thing. When I started really getting into the single camera directing, as I told you, I had been in production about 8 years, maybe 9 years. And the guys I was hiring had been doing it 30 years.
Yeah.
Because I thought there's just tons that I don't know. I have worked with directors who really had their act together, and it's like, well, how does he know this stuff and that kind of thing, and when am I going to learn it?
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, just like you say, you're new to directing, but I guarantee you won't really learn it until you do it. Like you said, this production is, okay, you go to school, I think the biggest thing is listening to people. I've heard directors who they'll tell the actors, this is what your part is or whatever. They may do a table read, and then when they get on the set, it's like, okay, just go ahead, and they let the actors go.
Yeah.
I heard, actors like Clint Eastwood, how he does, and I kind of like the way he cues his talent. Like he'll just say go.
Yeah.
And then he goes, that's enough of that, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I think when you don't fit people in your mold of what talent, what an actor or actress does or whatever, or if you like lighting. We used to do 4 jobs, and so the first thing I would do was set up the camera. I say set up the camera and the monitor. I set up the camera on the monitor on the shot and go, there it is. Let me know when you finish. And then I walk off and I go do something else. Okay. Until they come and get me. Then I look at it, and as I learned more, I say, okay, well, let's do something here, do that there. Yeah. I couldn't tell them what to use, or put a half screen, or the silk or whatever, Yeah. But I just knew how it was, and I liked it.
Yeah.
It is good to have a crew that works with you, whether it's a multicam, whether it's single camera, whether it's a documentary or a film, or whether it's a commercial. It's good to have a crew that's working with you. Things go better. And when I first started directing, I didn't have I have a sense of humor before the cameras rolled.
Right.
And when I said roll tape, we were shooting in tape, on tape.
Of course.
I didn't get the jokes. Yeah. I didn't get anything. And I was real like stone-faced. And my business partner at the time said, what happens to you? And what I finally realized was I was afraid the crew wouldn't do what I told them. And he was telling me, said, no, we're all here to do what you say. Everybody's here to work with you. Yeah. And I remember the first shoot that I did where I was like laughing and talking, and I went to him, I said, okay, how am I doing now? Because you have to have that trust in your crew. Yeah. If you don't have trust in your crew like that, it's not going to be fun. And I've worked with directors that they were high strung, and it was not a fun time. And this industry, it's high pressure already. And so whatever laughter you can do, and that's what makes behind the scenes blooper reels so much fun to watch. Yeah. Is because you see them. Yeah. It'll be like a drama where they hate each other. Yeah. And then they'll flub a line and then break into laugh, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I would agree with that. That like working with a team, like a good team, is absolutely like makes the job that much easier. Yeah. And working with people that you enjoy, because I think that there's like a mix of when I was in school, one of my instructors was kind of like, you can sort of be like really good at the job, or you can be like very like anxious and happy to do the job. and willing to like work, but you can't be like bad at the job and like a jerk. And so
I've seen some of those.
well,
Anyway.
yeah, I'm sure it happens, but like they probably haven't made it as far as someone who maybe knows less, but like is more willing to like be with everybody and like really like lock in. But the other side of that, yeah, is like it's very beneficial to have people who kind of know what they are doing. I would assume it's better as I go along to, you know, actually like have a gaffer and have like a camera guy and all of the things that I need. But I also I do think that right now I am still enjoying like being with other people who are still sort of learning and are happy to learn, and we enjoy each other. And so like as we're working along, like we're figuring things out together, and where I'm short they might have something, and where they are short I might have the backup. And in the meantime, yeah, we can joke and laugh about stuff, and the mistakes aren't like, you know, world crushing, like ruining to the project. So yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that's important.
Well, one thing, the reason why, well, no, I can't say that. This is what I have learned over the years. The reason why you want to have people who are more experienced is you come to the solutions a whole lot faster because they've seen them, you know. Yeah, learning together is cool if you have the time. We would go into Ford factories.
Yeah.
And we would bring lights. And there are people who maybe watch who worked in Ford factories they didn't have AI, but they had vision guided assembly, machine vision. And there's so much light on a part to say whether the light passes or fails. You bring a lighting crew in, and you throw a lot of light on there. And at the time, cameras, you know, we would shoot with tube cameras, and you know, we weren't even shooting with broadcast tube cameras at the time. At some of the time, well, you throw a lot of light on that part, it starts failing parts, and many a time. We got the plant manager coming down to see, okay, what is going on over here? Because it's failing all these parts.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're bringing our lights in, but you have to bring the lighting in for it, you know, for the camera to be able to see. And you want to make it look, you always want to make it look bigger than life, even though it might be dull. You know, but like we were edging it with colors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But to have a gaffer. As a matter of fact, I had a gaffer and a gaffer's grip.
Yeah.
I had an engineer.
Yeah.
I had audio. I had a camera guy, a camera assistant. I had an assistant director. So I had a full crew.
Yeah.
And as far as my business partner and I, we were shooting. We shot film style. We didn't flat light that because that's what video was mostly.
Yeah.
Just flat lighting, and we were, you know, adding textures and adding colors and things like that. But you get to solutions a lot faster. Now, when you have the time, it's fun to learn. It's fun to learn, and you always learn. You'll learn when you're working on a project.
Yeah.
And you don't know how to get something, and then somebody comes up with the solution.
Yeah.
Well, there's no copyright on it. You know, and so then the next time you'll be on a shoot. And they run into, and you say, "Oh, just do this," and they're like, "Wow, how did you know that?" Because a lot of times I think, "Man," I say, "You know, it'd be nice if I could come up with that on my own." But that's the industry. That's how you learn. You learn from somebody else. Now your approach, or maybe with your style, you develop.
Yeah.
But as far as, you know, fixing something or solving something, you know. But yeah, so
yeah, and I think that's why when you ask like what my specialty is, that's the benefit of like having multiple like hats. And I think as the industry progresses, more people do need to wear like multiple hats and have a little bit of a hand in everything. But the natural like order of that will be that everybody's not going to have the exact same like hat orders. Right. So, you know, my specialty will be writing and direction or whatever it lands on. but there will be someone else who directs but also does lighting first and also does, you know, or the audio guy who
Right.
can also run the camera and that kind of stuff. And so yeah, it's great to have the most experienced people that you can have,
Yeah.
but I do also think that those people, you know, they're locked in, they have tenure somewhere where I can't get to them.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like I think learning is great, and like you said, I will always be learning, there will always be something new to pick up. And experience is great, and like having the middle ground of the two of like, this guy, he's new, but he has spent the last like 3 years just learning how to work his camera and like doing
Right.
everything he could possibly do with his camera. And so even though he really hasn't, you know, shot anything major or whatever, this is his first thing, but he's done all of this work to get there. And I think that's what I mean when I'm like, they're new people.
Yeah.
So they have that like fresh side to them, but they're not new. Like I just handed them a camera and
Right,
brought them on
right.
set.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, because yes, that will take a long time. With all of the lights and all of the things that go into it, especially the larger that things get, because that's the other thing that you run into is like, yeah, when you shoot your first thing and you're like, I didn't put any lights in this room, and it was just, you know, I just had the
Available
actors.
light.
Yeah, exactly. Just stand by the window. We'll get it done.
Yeah.
And then the second thing, like the project that I'm going for now, like we went more deliberate, like, and there was like an aesthetic that I had in mind, and so we went in, and it's still not like a, you know, massive like Roger Deakins set with a bunch of lights everywhere, but like even just that of having like, we have a few more lights and we know how to look at things a little bit better, of like, this is the shadow spill that we want on the wall, and this is how we want these characters to look in this room, this is the vibe that I want from this room.
Yeah.
Is like, we know enough to get to that point. And when I get to the next step, yes, well, one, we will have that level of experience collectively.
Right.
But I may need to, at that point, say, like, oh, maybe I need to find someone else for this now. Because I need a bigger light. Now
Yeah.
I need the sunlight, actually.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, one benefit of knowing different things or having a level of experience in lighting or audio and camera is when there's an issue, you can have a suggestion too.
Yeah.
I had several shoots where I had a camera guy and they were competent. They were good camera guys, but there was a shot I needed, and they couldn't get the shot, and I said, okay, hang on a second. And my business partner had the same thing happen. And I said, okay, I'll do it. And then I got the shot and I did it. And I was, okay, there you go.
Yeah.
And just get the rest. And they came up and apologized. So I said, well, no, you did what I needed you to do. But when I needed this shot, and because I could direct and run camera, I didn't want to. You know, I was directing and I had a camera operator there, but when they couldn't do the shot,
Yeah.
okay, you do the shot and then you know, go on. Yeah. I've directed and there's this one guy, I knew him as a camera operator, and he showed up on a shoot that I was on, and he was audio. And he brought equipment. I hadn't done audio in a lot of years, so it had changed. And even VU meters, they went from the needles to the LED, you know, where they do the curves.
Yeah.
He showed up with all this stuff, and I was like, man, look. And so I didn't talk. And he knew me as an audio guy, but I was directing. I didn't talk. I didn't talk to him. I just said, okay, this is what it is. And so I looked at him and I said, well, how's audio? And he said, well, you're the professional. So we were kind of like tossing the ball to each other, you know, because he was looking at me, and I thought, well, I said, well, it sounds good, you know, whatever, and, you know, but, you know, people wear different hats. You know, they say, well, jack of all trades, master of none, but see, the other side of that is, okay, you may have your specialty, but it doesn't hurt at all to know how to, you know, okay, they're having a problem with the audio. Well, let me see, and like to go over and say, okay, you need an audio pad on it. You need a 30 dB pad or a 10 dB. It helps to know that, because then it lets your shoot, you know, progress.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting. But here I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this, and I don't know that I have ever had this happen. Have you ever had a shoot or been on a shoot where it worked out exactly how you pictured it?
No, not no. And yeah, I have very limited shoots, but even then, it always has this level of like falling apart and shifting really randomly in the moment. Um, like I think that that's part of the collaboration of it. So when I was talking about like talking to your actors and your actors doing different things than you expect, but even like I think starting back from writing, like you have a very specific vision in your mind, and you can't necessarily like recreate like this is the way that this house looks in my mind. Like that's not going to be the house that you find unless you're writing for that specific house to start with. So you immediately start shifting things from like this room doesn't look like what I thought it would look like, so now I have to like affect the way that they work. I don't have access to the guy that I saw in my head, so this guy. But then yeah, also the like technical elements of I thought that this shot would look really great. Like I had planned out this shot and this was going to be perfect. And then we got there on the day and it's not, like, it doesn't look like anything. And we have to really, shift, or the lights are too strong and we don't have something to like filter down for that. Like, so you have to shift all of the camera stuff. So no, I have yet, and I assume the what you're hinting at is that will never happen. But I've yet to have one where I feel like that went like really well, and I'm really like that was everything that I thought from start to finish.
I think the only way, I think there are times when they come close, when you have a big budget movie, and they're building all your sets.
Sure.
And even then, I think there's still differences, but and like they storyboard stuff out, and this is what this shot is going to be, And I think they come close, but like it was like for me, I've always envisioned my mind film.
Okay.
Even though I've shot film and things like that, but still, when you're there, you don't you don't see cinematic as you looking at the shot.
No.
But I have had jobs, I've had shoots that worked out really great. The clients, I've had clients tell me, I went beyond their expectations, which was my intention, which was why I hired the crew that I hired. But when I looked at it, I was just thinking to myself, still doesn't look the way I thought. I'll be happy with it, but it still doesn't look the way because your imagination. We used to say it'd be nice if you could plug back. We used to have BNC. I'll say a SDI connector. If you had an SDI connector, plug it in your brain, and then you record that.
Yeah, that was actually a thought process that I had as a little kid too. Before I realized that I could just make the movie, it was like I would love to get into the future where I can just plug my brain up and then just watch my brain outside of my head. Like, so yes, I've absolutely had that. My sister does art. And she sent me a meme at one point that was kind of like, or not even really a meme, but just like an internet thought process of the way that, generally speaking, artists and like creatives do things. And one of the things that happens is that I'm always shooting and aiming for something to look like you said, cinematic. So if I want it to look like Jaws, I want it to look like, Minority Report, whatever. And so I go with that in mind, but everything will always look like you did it. Like there's something about like taking away the like, I know the behind the scenes. So I'm looking at it on this screen, and even like I was able to make a short last year, that I was really proud of, and it was one of the first things that I was like, I'm really in it now, like, and this is my thing. But even that is like, it looks the most like a movie that I have made so far, but it also has the background because I was behind the camera and I was in that moment, and so it still like lacks all of this extra sheen. But I feel like that happens with everything as it gets better. Like my stuff is getting better and I can see it, but I also feel like it makes it like you see the man behind the curtain, and that's a thing that I think you won't lose because I'll always have to experience both sides of it.
I have produced videos. Well, first of all, one thing we used to do this when there was something I didn't like in a video and the client was reviewing, I would point it out. And I learned, don't do that.
Yeah, no.
Let them point it out to you, because they don't know there was a light reflecting in the glass, or there's a lens flare or whatever. Let them point it out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily that you're hiding flaws,
No.
but if they really love it, why would you point out a flaw? It's like, I really like the way it came out. Well, it's fine, but right here, I didn't.
Yeah.
I could have used I could have focused a little bit. Whatever. Just
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And I think that you're always going to be your own harshest critic
Oh.
too. So you're always going to find like going back to the baseline of this question of like, has anything ever gone the way you saw it entirely in your mind? No. So of course you're going to like, this is where I started, like here. And by
Right.
the time it was done, it was here. And here still might be like super high in the sky, but comparatively, it'll never be like the perfect original image.
Right.
So yeah, you will always find like, oh, this could have been better and I wish I had have done this and, whatever. But the audience doesn't notice that like, yeah, it was a hair out of focus. Like the focus is like a little bit too soft
Yeah.
or I had an idea for a shot that we didn't have time to get. And so for me, it's a really empty moment. But like no one in the audience is like, well, they should have cut to.
yeah, no. Why do you take this?
Yeah, exactly. Like they don't care. That's not
Yeah,
missing.
yeah.
If your final project is good and you've done what you needed to do, or even if you do have like legitimate like troubles with your final product, but it was still a good thing, then your client isn't necessary because they're always looking for different stuff than you, right? So like, yeah, it's one of the things that I focus on to make sure that I'm constantly growing while also acknowledging that like people who aren't looking at videos the way that we're looking at videos or films the way that we're looking at films are not ever going to see some of the stuff that it will be glaringly obvious.
Right. Well, another situation or circumstance that my business partner and I talked about. There are people who they may direct a feature film or a TV show, whatever. Somebody else edits it.
Yeah.
And they're not doing a supervised edit. They give it to the editor and they go over there. And now you come back and like, this isn't what I
Right.
this isn't what I directed.
Yeah.
This wasn't my intention. So there are situations like that too.
Yeah, I've heard of that, but I've heard of things being saved that way too. That like,
Well, you have two sides. You have two sides of the same coin. Yeah.
yeah, like it could. Yeah, you could send it away because it's one of the reasons why I like shooting and editing because you kind of know what you have and you can shoot with the concept of an edit in mind, whereas like when other people go and shoot things and then I just get the footage and have to like put it together, I have to work with what I have. I'm a very like I like to do it. I like to have it all, so I know what I'm working with. But like the other side of that is sometimes being completely separate from the vision. I think it takes away some of that level of like, oh, I felt like I needed that thing.
Right.
So the editor can go and say like, well, no, because we had this, and so I was able to use this, and I'm not attached to whatever dream you had and you had when you got
Yeah,
started.
no.
So
Yeah.
yeah, no.
Because like, well, this is what I saw, and you may have a vision of like a move. I think a lot of people like moves. The jib or the crane and then this dollying and all this stuff in the move.
Yeah.
And you get it to an editor and okay, you start your move, and then they cut out of it. Or what, those kinds of things. So
Yeah, you fall in love with your shot. Like this is a specific thing. It was a problem that we had for one of my projects in school. And of course, like in hindsight, the shot wasn't even that good. But like we were in a car and we like passed the camera through the window. Like, and of course for us, it was like, oh, this is so cool. Like we got one continuous shot. He gets in the car and the camera follows him. And so we passed the camera through the window and like follow him around. And of course, because it took so much extra, I think like everybody in that group like used that shot. And the like instructor was like, it would have been better if it had have like gone all the way because essentially you did this move and then like cut immediately away from it to like actually get to what you needed.
Right.
But you held on to that shot basically exclusively because you were in love with it and it didn't accomplish what was needed in that moment.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's kind of interesting, and then and to go back to something that we talked about in the previous video, you're learning,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I don't know. It's been my experience that every situation that I have been in, whether it's single camera directing or multi-camera, whether it's an interview, whether it's a play or a music concert or a music video, you pull from those experiences,
Yeah.
you know, and you learn, but you don't know you're learning.
Mm-hmm.
Because just like you said, each production has its own needs or circumstance, or whatever, you know, whatever the word I'm trying to think of.
Yeah.
But it has its own things that it needs.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't say, well, last time I set up the camera and we lit and did this,
Yeah.
because it may not be that way.
Yeah.
You know, lighting, you may need more light, you may not get to use as much,
Mm-hmm.
and then it depends on the end result.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. What are you making? 'Cause-
but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think you're making different things every time. And so, I mean, the benefit of making different things is that things translate. And two, if you make, like, if you're always making one specific thing,
Mhm.
then it will become that thing every single time.
Yeah.
Whereas if, you know, you make a horror film and then you make a romance and then you make a, you know, whatever, and then you do a commercial, then you have all of that stuff that you can put together, and so you won't get locked into like certain channels that, like, you know, my mom and I like to watch that have these very specific films that are for very specific audiences, but you know when you turn it on, this is the movie that you're going to watch every single time. And so if they're making that movie, that's always going to be that movie. Whereas if, you know, they had genre shifts or, you know, whatever project shifts that anybody does,
yeah.
those things can translate and like broaden your projects. And that is one of the things that I'm also like I'm grateful for right now is that I haven't been super locked into anything yet. So I have all of these different things that I do on top of my own personal like tastes, whatever they are. So yeah.
And you draw on those experiences and you learn, and like I say, you're always learning. I've been doing production for a long time, and it started out one way, and then because of technology and prices dropped and things like that, it's just a different way of doing things. The creativity level still needs to be the same, but just the tools that you use, you know, it's kind of like instead of like using a hammer and using a nail gun.
Right.
So,
Right.
You know.
Yeah. But still, having that level of like craftsmanship is still the most important thing.
Yeah. Well, Jackie, I really enjoyed our conversation. We know each other, but it kind of gives me a little more insight into you and who you are, and gives you a little more insight into me, although we kind of pick and stuff like that. But I really appreciate you coming on the show and having a conversation with me. It was great.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. And again, if you're interested in coming on the podcast and having a conversation, feel free. You can go to any browser and type in EMERJ.TV. It'll take you to my Facebook page where you can send a message. You can also view these videos. If you're not interested in having Facebook, you don't have to have Facebook to watch these podcasts. Just go to EMERJ.TV. It'll take you to my podcast and you can watch these podcasts at your convenience. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching EMERJ TV with Reggie Smith. Join us next time for more discussions on all things production. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.